How's it going, everyone? Dividend compounders on my watch list, a dividend investing strategy. First and foremost, I got a comment the other day asking if my voice is AI generated. Believe it or not, this is my real voice. I would love to just use an AI voice that reads off a script because what I am doing takes a lot more time and effort to make each video. I think the reason why my voice sounds like it might be an AI is because I am a full-time YouTuber, so I have a lot of practice talking in front of a camera. And as a YouTuber, I practically show my face all the time on the other channels. So it's a nice change of pace where I don't have to worry about my appearance on this channel. If there's enough interest in my face, maybe we can do a face reveal one day. Kind of like how millennial parents do the whole baby gender reveal thing. We can have balloons and everything. And getting back on topic, the companies that we are about to discuss are businesses that have historically been expensive in their valuation and, more importantly, in their stock price. However, as of recently, each one of these companies are on a dip. And buying a high-quality dividend compounder with cheese on a dip is like getting a great deal on clearance or sale. Tell me right now, who in this world does not like getting a good deal? Like just the other day, I was at Costco and I picked up a nice heavy-duty cotton shirt for $10 off. I felt like I was on top of the world. The fact that I even just said that, yeah, I'm a loser. Before I reveal the companies and do a deep dive on each one, I recently uploaded a video talking about why dividend investing. And here's one more value add of dividends that I thought of. The dividend raises you get every year from high quality businesses will be higher than any raises you get from your actual job. So for instance, my annual salary when I used to work for corporate, the increase was historically around 3.5% after talking to the big boss at the end of the year performance review. You might feel satisfied with a 3.5% gain, but high quality dividend paying companies usually grow their dividend payout by double digits. In this example, if you look on the right side of your screen, Microsoft actually grows their dividend by 10% year over year. So this payment should, in theory, go up by 30 cents. Dividend investing just makes too much sense for me, like going to sleep early so I can get more sleep. Yet, I choose to stay up late and wake up all groggy in the morning, and I make that mistake again and again. No, but really, I think our mom and dad had it right. Going to bed early is so good for you. Hey, listen here, guy. You are off topic again. You are right. So the companies I am watching very closely day in and day out. Number one is going to be Costco, the wholesale warehouse membership club. Number two is Humana, the health services conglomerate. And of course, McDonald's, home of the Happy Meal and the best French fries in fast food. So in this video, we are going to review each company's business model and any relevant callouts. Then we are going to look at their dividend profile. And lastly, we will take into consideration their total returns for the past 10 years. First up is Costco. I always think of Costco as Price Club because when I was a kid in the 90s, we used to go to Price Club before they were acquired by Costco. The business model of Costco is beautiful. It's not the store merchandise and product sales that sets them apart. It's their predictable, reliable, and growing membership subscription fee. I hate it so much. But there's a big business reason as to why companies have moved on from one-time payment models to subscription-based ones. Like, think about it as a CEO. Why charge a consumer one time in a lump sum when you can charge them every single month or every year? I don't make the rules, but it's the name of the game now. And let's talk about what you see on your screen right now. Can you believe that Costco started trading on the stock market in 1985 for $1.67 a share? If there was a time machine, one of my first priorities would be buying a house in California. And the next, I would have loaded up on Costco stock. This past year, Costco generated $237 billion in net sales. And don't even get me started on their store brand products known as Kirkland Signature. As I am filming this video, I am literally wearing a Kirkland t-shirt that I bought the other day, and it is fantastic. And by the way, way, I also play soccer. And whenever I go to pick up games, I actually like to wear Kirkland socks. Call me weird, but I think it's a better value than the other name brand socks like Nike or Adidas. I have a thing against Nike because I think their clothes look stylish, but their socks and shoes are designed to fit whose feet? Who can wear Nikes for 8 hours a day and be comfortable? They're so narrow and cramped in the toe box. Actually, you're right. I'm getting off topic again. Did you know Costco is now scanning IDs at the entrance before you walk in instead of just giving you a head nod when you flash your parents' membership card? This is crucial because it's all about data analytics. Now they get transaction data, behavior data, and demographic data from the first initial scan to when you check out. Their finance team and marketing team will be able to make better business decisions based on how long you are in the warehouse, how much you buy, what day you visited, and I suppose by scanning cards at the beginning, it cracks down on people sharing membership cards. Consumer data is the new oil money. Your data is very valuable to businesses. Oh, and the slide on your screen right now is how fast and aggressively the Costco membership audience is growing year over year. And this is in millions. So back in 2014, there was about 76 million members of Costco. You fast forward throughout the years, and now we're looking at 127 million. And that's why every company and business has a stupid mobile app for you to download. Because when you use their app, they can log your data in which they can sell to advertisers and other companies. Which brings me to today's sponsor, which is your puffy left nipple. Hey, tell me right now, wouldn't that have been the perfect opportunity for a sponsor plug? But what you see on your screen right now is the number of new warehouses they expand by each year. So during the pandemic, they were only able to open 13 new warehouses. But as of this year, they are expecting to open up 31 more warehouses. Honestly, I do not see any signs of Costco slowing down their Roman Empire. It's just spreading everywhere. And at the end of the day, isn't Costco just like Sam's Club, BJ's, or even Walmart? Well, what separates Costco from its competition and other retailers? Costco focuses on the variables other retailers don't seem to prioritize. But I'll say this, every major retailer in the US is growing in their revenue, except for maybe Home Depot. To go from $151 billion in 2021 to $153 billion isn't the greatest increase in comparison to their peers. But among these 5 retailer brands, I actually think Costco is the best one. So what are the variables Costco does better than the rest? Well, number 1, Costco takes care of their people. I remember back in high school over 20 years ago, yes, I'm old, I applied to Costco twice in the summer and I never got a call back. I actually wanted to be a cart pusher so I could have some spending money. Even as a young teenager, I knew how good Costco was to their employees. And the second thing that Costco focuses on is minimizing store theft and loss by their warehouse floor layout and checking receipts at the exit. They put all of their high valuable items near the entrance where the employees can guard those items. And I think Walmart is now implementing this practice across all of their high risk stores. And the third thing that Costco focuses on is that they optimize their inventory shelf life durations and only sell what sells. So when it comes to like coffee or whatever, they don't have 20 different flavors. They only have the original one. Plus, their stores are warehouses, which makes the square footage utilization very efficient. And as a guy that comes from a supply chain background, you love to see it. And Costco has a 93% membership renewal rate, which means a majority of the people see value in paying their membership fees. So expanding upon that first point, when we think about Costco, their employees generally have good things to say about their company. Like right now, if you pause this video and you look on Glassdoor or even ask that family friend who works for Costco, you'll see that they actually enjoy their job. And I think that stems from the fact that Costco pays their people well, gives them good healthcare benefits, and they promote from within. When I was doing my MBA recruiting, just for fun, I actually wanted to work for Costco corporate, so I put in an application, knowing at the back of my mind that they had rejected me 2 decades prior. And let me tell you, unless you worked at the warehouse as a cart pusher, or as a cashier, or as a stocker, it is nearly impossible to get a white-collar job with Costco because they only promote from within. So unfortunately, I had to let the Costco dream die. But the downside to this is without outsiders coming in, especially at the leadership level, the systems and process in place are most likely outdated and they operate in an echo chamber. Then again, that probably explains why their website is so trash. If you've ever been to Costco.com, you know what I'm talking about. It looks like it's straight out of the early 2000s. With all of that said, if you are in the job market, I would give Costco a chance. Even if you are a cart pusher, their average pay is quite decent, and it would be better to push carts at Costco than it is to push carts somewhere else. And something else you didn't know about Costco is that Costco actually pays a lot of money up front to buy the land of each expansion location. So instead of paying a monthly rent to Realty Income Corporation, Costco owns the land that their warehouse building sits on. So looking through their paperwork, look on the left side of your screen. At the end of 2023, Costco owned 677 of their buildings and the land it sits on top of. And they were leasing about 184 warehouses. And the ones that they lease are usually the ones that are overseas and international. And in their 10K, they clearly state our primary requirements for capital are acquiring land, buildings, and equipment for new and remodeled warehouses. So Costco might as well be a REIT on the side, much like another company we are looking at today. So for example, a warehouse that they lease overseas is the new expansion location that they opened in January of this year in Shenzhen, China. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not. And just look at the amount of people waiting outside to get in through the door when they open. And I think it's pretty cool how they built in an integrated garage with the warehouse. That's awesome. And by the way, I've been to Costco overseas, and it's just as crowded as it is in the States. I would argue in places like China, Costco is probably going to generate more revenue per warehouse in the next 5 to 10 years. And the last point that I want to make about them owning the land is this. If they ever decide to exit the retail space, they'll have a ton of warehouses in their portfolio and the land to rent it out to other companies who need it. They can literally pivot into becoming Stag REIT 2.0. And if you didn't know, Stag is a REIT company that rents out warehouses. So that's where I see the vision if things go wrong for Costco. And what's interesting about Costco's dividend history is that they didn't start paying one until 2004. And since then, they've been growing it at a rate of 13% year over year. Can you see why so many investors are obsessed with Costco? Their numbers make a lot of sense. It's a winner for a good reason. And before I forget, Costco posted their Q2 earnings recently and it was fantastic. Their sales went up by 6% year over year and they posted $57 billion in sales in 3 months. $57 million. Their net income went up by 19%. Like, what the heck? You would think we are talking about a tech company, but it's just Costco, the business that sells a hot dog and a drink combo for $1.50 at their food court. Now, here's a short story time. I remember when my partner and I first got together, we didn't have that much money because I was in grad school. So we used to have dinner dates at the Costco food court. Those were some good times, and I think that's one way to gauge a person's character. If they get all pissy and angry about going to a food establishment that's beneath them, you know that they are not a good person. Or if they treat the server with a whole lot of rudeness, then you know that they lack manners. On this YouTube channel, you get dividend knowledge and dating advice. That's why you should subscribe. And the only real threat I can see is if less and less people decide to have families. If that's the case, buying in bulk makes absolutely no sense. If you are just a single guy, it's a lot more efficient to just shop at Aldi or Walmart. And if this trend continues of people having less kids, that could be bad for Costco. But in the meantime, their numbers are just beautiful. Their stock price up against the market, aka the S&P 500, is a compelling argument in itself. Since 1985, Costco's stock price has gone up by 16.9% year over year, whereas the S&P 500 has only gone up by roughly 9%. So I think we all get it by now. Costco is amazing in every single metric. I am not shy about my opinions. I don't like Altria, yet I invest in the tobacco company. I don't like the health insurance industry, yet I think on paper, they are amazing businesses. Humana is typically known as a health insurance company to most people, but they are much more than that. Humana actually has millions of customers under their umbrella paying a subscription like Spotify or Netflix every single time period. Their business model is not going to slow down anytime soon because they are a cash generating machine that is profitable. And to make a profit, insurance companies will make sure the premiums, what you pay every time period, are greater than any future claims, which is known as underwriting the profit. They have whole departments and teams full of people who will calculate the financial numbers to see if it makes sense insuring someone. It's a business at the end of the day, and they will make the premiums more than the surgeries and treatment costs needed, if that makes sense. Except in this case, the premiums are paid by the taxpayers. More on that here in a little bit. So what about their last earnings report? They posted their Q4 2023 results back in January, and it was nothing short of disgusting. They posted a $541 million loss because of increased Medicare Advantage costs and more people seeking treatments than they had anticipated, which means their actuaries did not do their jobs properly of underwriting the profit. On the flip side, they did post $26.6 billion in revenue, which is absolutely crazy for a health insurance company. And looking forward to the rest of this year, they posted a gloomy and scary guidance for Wall Street. They expect their earnings per share to be in the range of $16 a share, whereas their previous forecast was $29 a share. I am not going to lie, that is pretty bad. And as of recently, Humana was hit with more bad news as the US government said Medicare Advantage plans will only receive a funding increase of 3.7%. And let me tell you, Wall Street wanted to see a bigger number. So very recently, Humana just went through a really massive sell-off. And needless to say, Humana definitely will have a rough year or so until they are in the clear again. So when you think of Humana, it is very sensitive to which political party has the influence and power in Congress, as a majority, if not all of their revenue will come from the government. And the government can decide how much spending they want to allocate to healthcare. Medicare, if you don't know, is health insurance to our most vulnerable population. But the idea here is that more and more Americans are getting older, right? Which means the market share for Medicare spending has to match the population increase in the senior category. And here's the thing, we as humans are no longer expecting life to end at 65 or even 68, which means we need Medicare longer than we have in the past. The growing older population that lives longer is the bull case for Humana. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Everybody can agree that our elderly parents and grandparents need Medicare. What else is new with Humana? Well, as of this year, they are ending their commercial insurance business. Going forward, they only want to focus on insurance that is government funded, kind of like Lockheed Martin or Raytheon. They only like those government contracts. Humana will only offer Medicare Advantage plans and be the health insurance provider for TRICARE East, which if you don't know anything about TRICARE, it takes care of our US military members that live in the eastern half of the US. And on a business level, I can understand why they're doing this, because old people and military folks are their most profitable divisions. Their commercial division only made up 4% of their revenue, so I can see why they cut ties and let that go. So besides Medicare and TRICARE, they do have other offerings such as Medicaid, CenterWell, which is their primary care business for senior citizens, and they also operate a pharmacy through their CenterWell business. So those senior citizens that are seeking care at CenterWell are also filling their prescriptions at CenterWell. So as you can see, Humana has created a little monopoly here. It's a pretty diversified healthcare business to say the least. And here's a fun fact about Humana. Humana had a failed merger with Aetna back in 2017. Aetna is CVS's health insurance line of business. And the reason that it failed was because of antitrust issues. Then just this past year, Cigna, which is another major health insurance player, and Humana tried to merge, but they also called it off. Cigna decided to use their money instead to do an additional $10 billion worth of share buybacks. So the big healthcare giants want to buy Humana. Just think about it. Would they really want to buy a company that is trash and worthless? In business, you typically want to acquire companies that you see as a competitive threat or that have an advantage over you. If you didn't know, well, now you know. The only real threat I can feel with Humana is their dependence on Medicare being government funded. Some people think Medicare will go bankrupt by 2030. The same story with Social Security. If that's the case, what happens to all the elderly people in the US needing medical treatment? I genuinely don't think Medicare is going to disappear. However, in the next 5 years or so, I think there will be legislative changes. That part I know for sure because the system right now is absolutely broken. So their threat is the lawmakers, and what you see on your screen is their financial numbers. From 2019 to 2023, just look at their revenue increase, and that's not in millions. This is billions of dollars. $64 billion in revenue in 2019 to now $106 billion in 2023. I'm not gonna lie, it's looking pretty hot. Let's talk about McDonald's. I think it's funny how their stock graph right now looks like the golden arches. Eventually, you know that I had to cover McDonald's, as the name of this channel might suggest. And even though I'm a health freak, I still eat out at McDonald's every single week. I consider it my unhealthy cheat meal. And that's because I have a love-hate relationship with McDonald's. It's just that one thing that I can't let go. So a little fact about me. I was raised by a single mom, and there were weeks where she couldn't cook because she was working 2 to 3 jobs. So sometimes she would buy like 10 hamburgers from the dollar menu, and that would be my lunch and dinner for a week straight. So in times of financial trouble, much like Domino's, McDonald's has been a saving grace. And here's a fun fact. Even if a McDonald's burger has spent a week in your fridge, it still tastes pretty good after you heat it up. I know from personal experience, but after like that 8th day, it does taste a little ratchet. Their business model seems straightforward on face value, but check this out. McDonald's, much like Domino's, operates through the hands of franchisees. And a franchisee is basically an entrepreneur. These entrepreneurs who own individual restaurants are responsible for making McDonald's successful, and the franchisees have to run the stores the way that corporate wants them to operate. So each franchisee will partner with field consultants that are responsible for a region or an area. This field consultant is usually going to be a 22-year-old fresh college grad that understands how to do math. And they'll basically tell the franchisees what they have to do in order to meet the standards of McDonald's corporate and what changes they need to implement. So, McDonald's will usually get a franchise fee that will look like about 12.5% of all gross sales as a fee for operating under the McDonald's brand. But that's not the main bread and butter. McDonald's is more of a real estate company than a fast food restaurant. They own some of the world's most expensive land. Just think about it. When you see a McDonald's in Paris, New York City, San Francisco, and whatnot, you gotta think how much their real estate has appreciated since they bought it. And because McDonald's owns the building and the land, they lease it back out to the franchisees. That is a really intelligent business model. And if for whatever reason the restaurant ever decides to fail and the food falls out of favor, I can see McDonald's pivoting into becoming a REIT. They will just rent out their land to other companies. Owning land is a good thing. Just like Costco. I'm an American that lives overseas, and let me tell you, McDonald's is just as, if not more popular overseas than it is in the US. Because think about it. If you're from, I don't know, China, and you eat Chinese food 365 days of the year, doesn't American food in the form of a Big Mac sound appealing? Every time I ride my bicycle past my local McDonald's, their drive-through line is filled with cars. I'm talking about like 10 to 20 cars every single time. And the catch is, unlike the US where you can get amazing deals on the mobile app, here where I live, I kid you not, they give you deals like 10 cents off the fries or 20 cents off the chicken nuggets. No bueno. Because I know back in the States, you can literally buy a burger to get one for free from the mobile app. Whatever. Moving on. Much like Starbucks, McDonald's is facing boycotts over the situation situation in the Middle East. And as a result, they missed their sales expectations internationally for the fourth quarter of last year. So if this trend continues, it would have a compound effect for McDonald's because they are banking on international growth, or at least that's why Wall Street is selling out of McDonald's. And don't worry, McDonald's is not just sitting around and letting this happen. They have decided to take back ownership of all 225 restaurants in Israel to make sure that no franchisees will do anything against corporate again. But it's not just the boycotts that we need to take into consideration. McDonald's has other headwinds coming its way because less and less consumers in the US are eating out. And here's the catch. Food prices rose 20% from January of 2021 to January of 2024. And that's the fastest jump on record. And I have heard the menu prices are ridiculous at this point in comparison to inflation. Since 2014, McDonald's has increased their menu prices by 100%, whereas inflation has gone up by 31% in the same time period. To me, I think this is a big concern as more and more people are just going to choose to cook at home, right? Disregarding convenience to save money. You can't just keep raising the prices and expect the consumer behavior to remain the same. But I mean, grocery store prices are pretty high too. So what's the option here? To just skip meals and starve? To practice intermittent fasting? Which, by the way, I used to skip breakfast for about 10 years of my professional life. However, as of recently, I started eating breakfast, and let me tell you, my brain is a lot more creative in the mornings now. And honestly, you don't even need to do eggs and all that. I just eat fruits, and that's been good enough. So here's a shout out to breakfast, one of the most important meals of the day, for sure. So what's my opinion on all of this? I think eventually McDonald's is going to be okay. And when I say eventually, I mean in the next year or so. And I say that because I remember when McDonald's made the call to pull out of Russia a couple of years ago, which, mind you, had a huge consumer footprint. I mean, just look at how big Russia is on the map. We're talking about over 800 restaurants and 60,000 employees. Yet, it wasn't as bad as everyone thought it would be. So the 225 restaurants going back into the hands of corporate instead of a franchisee should be more than okay. It's not like they're permanently shutting them down like they did in Russia. And when we take into consideration the market potential for Africa, just look at it. There's literally no locations except for like South Africa and Egypt. Africa still has a lot of growth potential. Besides, a company as big as McDonald's with the brand that they have built over the decades will always find a way to stay on top. Although I hate to admit, I think Whataburger and In-N-Out are fantastic alternatives. So whenever I travel and I find myself in Texas, I always grab a burger at Whataburger. Likewise, whenever I'm in California, I try to grab In-N-Out. But that's neither here or there. I just wanted to let you know that I tapped into their annual investor meeting. And it's hard to believe that this is a fast food company. It has a corporate business vibe from head to toe. And that's not a good nor a bad thing, but their presentation and production value was insane. It was nice, but that's just surface level stuff. The executive leadership team seemed the most excited about their Cosmic beverage brand launching the second half of this year, and I can agree with their excitement. The drinks industry has super high margins in comparison to fast food, and that's because of the supply chain and logistics behind of making drinks being a lot more cost effective. And when you think about it, McDonald's launching Cosmic is not going to be the first rodeo. They've been selling coffee and other beverages at their restaurants for decades now. Not only that, they have the supply chain infrastructure and logistics, what I just talked about, figured out to make sure that each Cosmic location is going to be successful. But anyways, the leadership also said that their main focus for 2024 was growing their top line, aka the revenue, expanding carefully and giving back to the shareholders. What more would you want to hear as an investor? No, seriously, they have their priorities straight. And what you see on your screen right now is McDonald's stock split throughout the history. McDonald's used to do them very frequently, as you can see. However, they have not done a stock split since 1999. So to sum up their annual performance, they grew their global sales by 9%, and they're very bullish for this year. Now, one of the worst attributes about McDonald's is is the high employee turnover and overall employee satisfaction. They're on the opposite end from Costco. I can't say that I have ever seen a happy McDonald's employee. From corporate all the way down to the guy making the fries. Workers quitting or getting fired all the time is terrible for a smooth business operation. Think about how often the manager is conducting interviews and training new staff. That's time and energy taken away from the leadership to do leadership stuff. Here's where I'm trying to come from. If McDonald's were to increase their pay or improve their benefits, I feel like more people would stay and work their way up the McDonald's ladder. And on a side note, McDonald's will start selling Krispy Kreme donuts, which is their way of trying to dominate the fast breakfast scene. And I guess they're trying to appeal to those that have munchies late at night. Getting a glazed donut is probably an amazing feeling if you fit that demographic of getting hungry late at night. Oh, and before I forget, if you have a kid that wants to go to college but finances are an issue, if you work for McDonald's, they'll help pay for school. So if you choose to go to a community college or a nearby in-state school, $2,500 should be really helpful, and you get that every single year as long as you work for McDonald's. Just a call out that I wanted to make. And now we are going to be looking at their dividend profile. First up is going to be Costco. Now, Costco has a dividend yield of 0.5%. Yes, I know that is not the highest, but this is what I want to call out. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a bunch of stuff that's circled, right? Their dividend graph looks odd because every so often, Costco issues a special dividend on top of their regular dividend. So back in 2015, that special dividend was $5 a share. In 2017, that was $7. In 2020, that was $10. And in 2023, they decided to pay out a special dividend of $15 a share. So when you think about this annual dividend payout being $4 and then getting $10 or $15 on top of it every so often, that means their dividend yield is probably closer to like. But anyways, their average dividend growth rate is just shy of 13%, that double-digit number that you love to hear and see. Their dividend payout ratio is 26%, which means that their dividend is sustainable and it's very healthy, and they have been increasing their dividend payout for over 20 years. Back in 2015, their dividend was only $1.55 a share. However, as of this year, their dividend payout is now $4 a share. So don't dismiss Costco just because you think their dividend yield is too low on the surface level. So based on their dividend profile, we can conclude that Costco just looks absolutely delicious. Moving right along, Humana's dividend profile. So back in 2015, they paid $1.15 a share in dividends. However, in 2024, they are now paying out $3.54 a share, which means that their average dividend growth rate is sitting at 12%. I know, when you look at their dividend yield being just above 1%, you're probably like, yo, that is way too low. I am not interested. But when you think about how their dividend is growing at a rate of 12%, you gotta think long term, my friend. And not only that, their dividend payout ratio is under 20%. It's literally 17%, which means there's a lot more room for them to increase the dividend payout. And the cherry on top is that they have been increasing their dividend payout for the past 7 years. And their next dividend payout is going to be on April the 26th. McDonald's, their dividend profile. So back in 2015, they paid out $3.44 a share. However, as of this year, they're going to be paying out $6.68 a share. So when you think about it, that's a 7% average dividend growth rate. Now, their dividend payout ratio is not as low as Costco or Humana, but it's only 57%, which means it's very healthy and very sustainable. And I would say their dividend yield is pretty good, right? At 2.5%, just shy of it. I mean, it's not the best, but it's pretty healthy and it's good. But here is why, as dividend investors, we should give some respect to McDonald's. They have been increasing their dividend payout for over 48 years. Some of you watching this video, you are not even 48. They have been increasing the dividend payout longer than you've been alive. So based on dividends alone, I think McDonald's is juicy. I love it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Next, we are going to look at their total return rate. Costco, with $10,000 invested in January of 2014, and fast forwarding 10 years later, that initial $10,000 would turn into $76,000, which spits out an annual CAGR rate of 21.9%, meaning your money grew at an average rate of 22% a year. Guys, I'm just trying to tell you right now, $10,000 to go to $76,000 in 10 years, that is quite literally the definition of a dividend compounder with cheese. So even though their dividend yield might not be the highest, wouldn't you rather see your money increase by 700%? I don't know, I guess some of us have different priorities. In their best year, I guess that was back in 2021, the stock went up by 51%. However, in their worst year, they went down by negative 19% 2 years ago. So when we think about Costco's total returns, I think this is phenomenal. This is beautiful. This is exactly what you want to see in an investment. Humana's total return. So if you had invested $10,000 in January of 2014 and you fast forward to March of 2024, your $10,000 would have grown to $36,000, which I think is pretty remarkable. That spits out a CAGR of 13% year over year, meaning your money grew that much every single year. And during their best year, Humana's stock price went up by 40% back in 2014. And in their worst year, which is this year, their stock went down by negative 24%. I'm telling you, they are on a dip right now. And whether or not you agree or you think their sell-off is justified is up to you. But the matter of the fact is, $10,000 to $36,000 as your total returns if you had reinvested the dividend payouts back into this investment. McDonald's total returns. If you had invested $10,000 into the company in 2014 of January and you fast forward 10 years, then you would have had $38,000, which spits out a CAGR of 13.9%, which means that your money would have grown by just shy of 14% every single year. And during their best year, they went up by 45%, and that was back in 2017. And during their worst year, they went down by negative 4%, which is happening right now. As I said earlier, McDonald's is on a dip. And before I reveal my subjective rankings for these three companies, take a look at the picture that you see on your right. I'm sick in the head. I'm telling you right now. I hate running. Yet, I force myself to go run about 20 to 30 miles a week, every week. And when it comes to shoes, my opinion is that they all basically do the same thing. They prevent random shards of glass from cutting your feet when you go running outside. With that said, I do have a preference for running shoes, and they are three brands that work for people that have wide feet. And so for me, I think Saucony, Brooks, and New Balance are the best running shoes. That's very subjective, right? I say all that to prove a point, and that is this ranking is going to be very subjective. So let's see how these dividend compounders rank against each other. Number one should not shock anybody. That's going to be Costco, which is an absolute dividend compounder with cheese. Knowing their past record and history, I don't know why I would not invest into them whenever I see them going on a big dip. But that's because past performance is not indicative of future gains. I'll tell you what, buddy, shut up. Because if you look at Costco on paper and what they have been doing, I don't see them slowing down. So me personally, if they're going on a dip, they are going to be on my watch list. And number two is going to be Humana. And that's because I truly believe that they are going to have a recovery story. Right now, they're roughly trading for about $300 to $320 a share. And that's because they're dealing with temporary setbacks. But I think if they can make it through this year, which I think they will, they're going to be back up to that $400, $450 price target range. Then again, we could have a radical revolution and get rid of Medicare altogether, and then the health insurance companies will just crumble and fall. Anything can happen, which means in third place for the bronze medal is going to be McDonald's. It's a slow and steady growth play, right? It's not growing as fast as Humana or Costco, but just their dividend track record of 48 years of increasing that dividend payment and just being a brand that is loved and known all over the world. Honestly, depending on the day, McDonald's could be second place out of these three. But as of right now and how things are going, they're going to be in third place, but that does not mean that they're bad. And I still stand by the fact fact that I think every single one of these companies are dividend compounders with cheese, and they would all make good investments in my portfolio. That's my opinion. So there you have it, folks. Those are the dividend compounders with cheese on my watch list. What do you think? What do you think of Costco, Humana, or even McDonald's? Do you agree with my ranking? How would you rank them? Anyways, I'll talk to you next time. Stay safe, and just know that I appreciate that you took the time to write a comment. See you later.